In certain parts of India, sweatshops have been utilized, and LVMH appears to be operating with complete disregard for human health and safety. With allegations of poor working conditions, LVMH, the world's leader in luxury, owns more than 75 brands that encompass products such as clothing, wines, perfumes, jewelry, and much more. Despite its ubiquitous presence, the company has faced accusations of heinous actions, including violating workers' rights, tax evasion, disregarding animal rights, and countless other scandals. This raises the question of whether LVMH is as evil as it is claimed to be, and if so, how has this company become worth over $400 billion? The truth is, behind the glamour and opulence lies a darker side to the story. However, to comprehend the LVMH saga, we must first learn about the history of its CEO. Prepare to be intrigued and possibly outraged as we delve into the scandals and secrets of Bernard Arnault, the controversial billionaire behind the luxurious empire of LVMH. Who is Bernard Arnault? LVMH owns some of the most prestigious brands in the world, including Louis Vuitton, Dior, Fendi, and Bulgari. But how did Bernard Arnault become so successful? Born in 1949 in Roubaix, France, Arnault showed an interest in business from a young age. In his 20s, Arnault took over his family's construction company and began expanding it into a real estate empire. His real estate ventures were successful, but he had his sights set on something bigger. In 1984, Arnault made his move into the world of fashion by acquiring Christian Dior. Arnault's purchase of Dior was the first step in his plan to create a luxury goods empire. Over the next few years, Arnault acquired more luxury brands, including Louis Vuitton and Givenchy. Arnault's strategy was to create a conglomerate of luxury brands that could share resources and increase profitability. Although fashion fanatics praise him as the Pope of fashion, the billionaire French businessman has been dubbed the Wolf in Cashmere by the media and his critics. The nickname represents the perception that Arnault is a ruthless businessman who has built his fortune by aggressively acquiring and expanding luxury brands. Arnault's strategy has been to acquire struggling luxury brands and turn them around by investing in their design, marketing, and distribution. This has led to accusations that he is more interested in profits than in preserving the integrity of the brands he acquires. One famous takeover was the acquiring of LVMH. LVMH. Arnault started investing in the company LVMH in 1987. LVMH was a merger between champagne and cognac group Moet Hennessy, with iconic luxury clothing brands Louis Vuitton. Arnault was going after the rights of Dior perfumes, increasing his control over the Dior brand. At the time, the rights were held by Louis Vuitton. With the backing of the alcohol brand Guinness, Arnault acquired a 24% stake in LVMH in 1988. But his entry wasn't good news for all shareholders. Some viewed him as a liability, a ruthless businessman whose style didn't mix with the world of fashion. One supporter of his was then-President Henri Recamier, who saw him as a potential peacemaker for conflict between Louis Vuitton and Moet Hennessy. He welcomed Arnault with open arms, but couldn't have been more wrong. It didn't take long before Arnault was bidding to wrestle control of the company out of Recamier's hands. With reports of Louis Vuitton shareholders planning to halt Arnault's creeping control, Arnault responded with his most consequential business move of all. He pumped in $600 million of his own money to snap up another 13.5% of LVMH, augmenting his total share to 43.5%, and with it, becoming the largest shareholder. Henri Recamier, once Arnault's ally, had thrown his weight behind the resistance against Arnault's takeover, and after losing a court battle challenging Arnault's ownership stake, Recamier admitted defeat and stepped down from his post, or was ousted, depending on whose version. Today, LVMH is the world's largest luxury goods company. with a market capitalization of over $400 billion. And according to Forbes, as of January 2023, Bernard Arnault is the richest man in the world, with a net worth of over $200 billion. But Arnault's success hasn't come without controversy. He has been criticized for his business practices and his personal wealth. Poor work conditions. Arnault has also faced criticism for his management style, which is known for being demanding. He is often accused of putting undue pressure on his workers and being more concerned with the bottom line than the welfare of his employees. That said, this is one example about the company's treatment of workers. This photo was taken on the 20th of February 2020 in Mumbai, showing Indian artisans hard at work, embroidering for luxury brands. These skilled workers, mostly Muslim men who have left their rural homes in search of employment opportunities, toil away for up to 17 hours a day. However, despite their invaluable contributions, fashion giants such as Dior and Saint Laurent have been quietly taking advantage of their expertise without providing them with the necessary employment protection. Dozens of Indian artisans work long hours in poorly regulated factories, embroidering garments for luxury brands like Dior and Saint Laurent. These skilled workers are often employed by middlemen factories, providing services such as garment production and design to fulfill the demands of the world's top fashion houses. Despite a 2016 compliance project called the Uttan Pact, which aimed to improve factory safety and elevate Indian embroiderers, many workers still lack employment benefits or protections. In addition, seasonal demands for thousands of hours of overtime coinciding with fashion weeks in Europe leave workers vulnerable to exploitation. Luxury brands have been accused of driving down the prices they pay for orders, while consumers remain unaware of the realities of their production processes. A spokesman for LVMH, Moet Hennessy Louis Vuitton, the world's largest luxury goods company, said in an emailed statement, "We take the allegations raised through your questions very seriously, but are unable to comment without further details and a thorough investigation." Notre Dame controversy. Bernard Arnault makes enough money to end the world's problems, but he doesn't. He has also faced backlash for how he spends his money. Aside from his lavish lifestyle, LVMH's €200 million donation to restore Notre Dame is one instance where he was criticized. On the fateful evening of April 15, 2019, the world watched in horror as flames engulfed Notre Dame, the 850-year-old historic cathedral in the heart of Paris. As firefighters fought tirelessly to extinguish the inferno, millions around the globe mourned the loss of one of France's most iconic landmarks. However, amidst the despair and devastation, French tycoon Bernard Arnault, the wealthiest man in the world, and his luxury goods group LVMH stepped forward to offer their support. In a heartwarming gesture of solidarity, they pledged to donate €200 million, equivalent to $226 million USD, towards the reconstruction of Notre Dame. Quote, "The Arnault family and the LVMH group would like to show their solidarity at this time of national tragedy and are joining up to help rebuild this extraordinary cathedral, which is a symbol of France and its heritage and of French unity," end quote, read the statement released on behalf of Arnault. And that would be the end of it, because who wouldn't sympathize with such a tragic loss, and who wouldn't want to accept such a generous donation? But that's not what happened though. After François-Henri Pinault, the CEO of Gucci owner Kering and husband of actress Salma Hayek, announced his $100 million donation towards the restoration of Notre Dame on Tuesday, the controversy began when Jean-Jacques Aligan, who is now an advisor to Pinault's father but was a former culture minister, took to Twitter to propose that corporate donations towards the rebuilding of Notre Dame should receive a 90% tax deduction, as opposed to the usual 60% deduction that corporations receive for charitable donations. That's when the whole thing exploded, said Pierre Husky, a commentator for France Inter, the public radio station. Quote, "That produced outrage, that this act of generosity turns into fiscal advantage," end quote. And although Bernard Arnault didn't start the controversy, he did have something to say about it. During LVMH's shareholder meeting, Arnault clarified that his family holding company was ineligible for tax deductions on charitable donations, despite French law allowing for a 60% deduction. He explained that the company had reached its limit for tax breaks after receiving them for the construction of the Louis Vuitton Foundation in recent years. Quote, "It's an empty controversy. It's pretty dismaying to see that in France, you are criticized even for doing something for the general interest. Shareholders that were happy with the donation should take to social media to show their support for an act which in many other countries would be congratulated for," Arnault said. Still, people in France were outraged. "Can you imagine 100 million, 200 million in one click?" said Philippe Martinez, head of the militant CGT labor union, saying, quote, "It really shows the inequalities in this country." End quote. Tax evasion. Still on the subject of taxes, back in 2012, the fashion mogul also faced accusations of tax evasion after he applied for Belgian citizenship. The move was seen by many as an attempt to avoid paying French taxes, which are among the highest in the world. The news caused a public outcry, with many accusing Arnault of being unpatriotic and greedy. Arnault denied the allegations, stating that his application for citizenship was motivated by personal and professional reasons rather than tax avoidance. He claimed that he had always paid his taxes in France and had no intention of changing his tax status. Despite his denials, the controversy continued to swirl around Arnault, and the French government launched an investigation into his tax affairs. In the end, Arnault withdrew his application for Belgian citizenship, stating that he did not want his personal situation to affect the image of LVMH or the French business community. Animal rights controversy. While that issue died down, LVMH has come under fire from animal rights group for its use of fur and exotic animal skins in its products. In 2021, PETA launched a campaign calling on LVMH to stop using crocodile skins in its products. The campaign, which featured graphic images of crocodiles being killed and skinned, highlighted the ethical concerns surrounding the use of exotic animal skins in fashion. PETA argued that its use of these materials was cruel and unnecessary, and called on LVMH to adopt more sustainable and ethical practices. LVMH defended its use of exotic animal skins, stating that it adhered to strict ethical and sustainability standards. The company also pointed to the fact that the use of these materials was legal and regulated. It's worth noting that while these controversies have been raised, Arnault and LVMH have denied any wrongdoing and have taken steps to address some of these issues. However, these controversies are not just isolated incidents. They are part of a larger system that prioritizes profit over people and the planet. As consumers, we have the power to demand change and hold companies accountable for their actions. By choosing to support ethical and sustainable brands, we can help create a fashion industry that is fair, responsible, and truly luxurious. Today, Bernard Arnault remains one of the most influential figures in the world of luxury goods, but his story serves as a reminder that even the wealthiest and most powerful among us are not immune to scandal and controversy.